Just a joke.
I mean, that would have.
Oh my god!
Just a joke.
No, Ghazi.
No. But this is what I'm saying. Okay, I'm not saying it has to be that joke, but
You're listening to the Big Drill. Here we are. We're back on the Big Drill.
Welcome everyone, and as always, I am joined with the man himself,
Will. Hello.
And I'm Ghazi. Very nice of you guys to join us yet again for another episode.
Got these boys back today.
And we got the mascots back in business. Did we forget them last episode?
Yeah, we did, because there's a lot of things going on.
Okay, fine.
We got Boris back and got one.
Goku.
That's what I meant.
Tell us, Will, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we're going to talk about stage invasion.
And
violent conduct and repercussions and what are you doing?
There's a hair in my cup. There we go. Stage invasions is a fantastic way of describing the events that occurred.
Not a staged invasion, a stage invasion.
Yeah, real ones.
Yeah,
we're not saying they were fake.
No.
So obviously, obviously everyone knows about what Will Smith did. Would you like to describe the events that occurred, just in case for anyone that's listening that does not know what happened?
He got packed off to Bel Air and became the Prince of Bel Air because he got in one little fight and his mum got scared.
I can't believe it.
What?
I didn't see that coming, I'll be honest. So what Will was saying is, Will Smith was it the Oscars?
Yeah.
One of those shows. Got up on stage and slapped Chris Rock across the face.
Well, he didn't smack him across his ass, did he?
No, he did not. It was the face.
That would have been a bit
because Chris Rock made a G.I. Joe joke.
G.I. Jane, in fact.
G.I. Jane, sorry.
Right, mate.
G.I. Jane joke about his wife.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was basically because Demi Moore in G.I. Jane shaved her head, and
where did I get G.I. Joe from? Is that a song?
It's a toy. It's the male equivalent of G.I. Jane.
Okay, fine.
So Demi Moore shaved her head when she done G.I. Jane, and obviously Jada shaved her head because she has alopecia, and because of that, Chris Rock saw it as an opportunity to make a G.I. Jane 2 joke, and leaning into the fact that she would be cast for G.I. Jane.
What did you think of the joke?
I mean, pretty averagely shit joke. Not really that funny, but
did it warrant the reaction?
No, I mean, I think the reaction that Will Smith had is a reaction of many other things that have been happening in his life, in the relationship that he has with Jada. I don't think it was that moment, that reaction. He was actually laughing at first. He was laughing at that joke.
He hasn't even addressed that yet, which is a bit of a shame.
He was laughing, and then he turned around and he saw Jada categorically not laughing, and then he changed his...
She probably gave him the eyes.
Yeah, whatever she did, but ultimately his reaction was then driven by her looking at him in a way which triggered him for whatever reason to behave in that way, which we don't know. We do not know, because it's their relationship, and although a lot of that relationship has been aired to a certain degree in the public domain.
What's the word she used? It's not it wasn't like cheating, it was I'll remember it. You continue. An entanglement.
An entanglement.
Yes, she got into an entanglement.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, their relationship, however it's set up, I think it sounds like there's an element of like accepted non-monogamy within their actions and their dynamic.
Well, Jada's come out and said she actually never wants to get married. So there's a bombshell for you.
She never wanted to get married. No, I've seen that as well. So, I mean, you know, we're looking at someone who reacted in an angry and a not theatrical, an angry and dramatic way.
Dramatic.
I think is probably a good breakdown of that. And you can look at it from a couple of different perspectives. He could have been reacting in a way to defend his wife's name. I don't actually buy that. I think that it's like a power move. It's a move to kind of like prove his relationship to everyone else with her, that he is valid in being in a relationship with her.
Would you like to hear what I think happened?
I'd always.
I could be completely wrong, but but
it's a flip of a coin.
I think Will Smith went from being a highly respected human being in general amongst the population, a great actor, had a good rap career. He had the love of the community.
Banked a lot of dollars.
Yeah, and he's successful, rich, famous, but I think he also had the respect of many people. And ever since, I think it started with the entanglement thing, where that episode aired where she basically said that she had a sexual relationship with, I forgot the guy's name, a rapper that was her son's mate, whatever. Yeah. And I think that was the beginning of the end for Will Smith. So he went from being a highly respected person to now being someone who's at the end of jokes.
Well, they made a meme out of it, didn't they?
Memes.
And you love a meme.
I do love a meme.
You know the meme I'm talking about, don't you? The one where he's crying.
Yeah, the tears, you know. And I think it started from there. And now people are more inclined to just make jokes about him. And he's starting to see that, feel that, and probably on a regular basis, because his following is so huge that he probably sees jokes about that every single day. And I think it just got to a point where he just blew up. I don't think it was about the joke at all.
I know. I think it was that. I agree with you. It wasn't about the joke.
I think it was like he was bottling up all this, not hate, but he was on the wrong side of a joke. He was what's the expression where like you're at the butt of the joke. He's the butt of the joke, and I don't think he was used to that, because I don't think he really ever was a butt of a joke.
Well, no, it's about power, authority, control, the joke maker rather than the joke taker.
Yeah.
So that's where that shift in the paradigm, where you're actually the one that's entertaining and making the jokes out of people, and then all of a sudden someone is now making a joke out of you, you know, and obviously that
for years,
that joke but I mean, and that's unresolved. So basically
I think it's gotten worse.
Well, yeah, because time does no favors to something which is not dealt with.
But also the slap has made it like now everyone's making more fun of his wife now.
Now we're in a realm of amplification.
It's just getting worse and
never be got rid of, right? And you probably would have at some point kind of had the idea of the entanglement situation slowly depreciating to a mere murmur on the lips of few. But now it's been brought up again because of this. So now not only it's like, as I said, it's like amplified. We've got this. Well, why did he act like that? Why is he behaving like this? It's amplified it. And then we've also got this new occurrence as well, which is going to be a continuation. I mean, like the way in which he done that, what a clear, thoughtful, and logical person would have done, knowing that he was probably going to win that Oscar for King Richard, you know, Venus Williams,
the
Serena Williams' dad,
father,
So he was set up to win that, and it was going to happen. What he should have done was he should have used his speech that he was giving to do two things: raise awareness about alopecia, much more conducive, and if he needed to throw something back at Chris Rock, he could have thrown something back at him there in a more of an intelligent, non-violent. But if he wanted to air it in a bit of I guess like a passive-aggressive kind of comment, or he could have done it there.
I would have just, what I would have liked him to do, and we would never have known, was just go talk to him in private and say, listen, I didn't appreciate that. Please refrain from doing that in the future.
That's what an adult would do. Someone operating within the realms of the prefrontal.
Yeah, I would, and we would never have known, and no one would remember the joke because no one
would remember that joke.
Did you know the Oscars were going on?
Not really.
Yeah, I didn't either.
No one really does.
I would never have even heard the joke.
Oscars is something for the elite within Hollywood. It's not even a mainstream. It doesn't really affect mainstream people, does it?
Yeah.
The only reason people watch it is because they get to see many celebrities on the screen at one time, and that's the only reason why there's no real validity to it.
And that's why people were saying that the slap was staged, or
that's one theory, wasn't it? But it clearly wasn't. But yeah, so I mean, ultimately, I think we're definitely in a situation where I don't think there's much that he can really do or say to elicit a acceptance of the behavior.
So this is where my opinion might vary a little bit to everyone else's, but I wanted to ask you and get yours first. How did you find Chris Rock's reaction? What was your thoughts on that? And how he dealt with the situation?
So Chris Rock's reaction, I think, was definitely something that showed how you can pass through a situation in a, what's the word, kind of a formed way, in a collected way. You don't necessarily have to lose your cool and react however negatively from a verbal reaction or from a physical reaction. You can just like let that event happen, and then I think his only response was like, it was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like, he was like, right, okay, let's move on from that then.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that was a way in which he managed to stay composed and stay respected in that situation.
So I'm going to say I liked how he reacted. I thought it was very mature. All of that was great. There's one thing I didn't like, and he didn't provide any consequence to what Will Smith did to him. And I'm not saying he has to hit him back, which I would have defended anyway. If he did, no problem. Self-defense. Don't allow someone else to hit you. Cool.
Well, I disagree. I think it would be retaliation because he was hit,
mm-hmm.
and then Will Smith walked off.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
Need to hit him to defend himself.
Even if he did, I would have said, no problem. Will Smith is in the wrong. But even I wanted at least some consequence to him being slapped. So for example, maybe say a joke, but defending himself rather than trying to brush what just happened off. So when Will goes back and says, keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
I actually said your motherfucking mouth.
Yeah, with a swear word in there.
Yeah. Twice.
Chris Rock kind of became subservient to that and said, okay, I will. No problem. I will keep her. I would have liked a consequence to say and be like, actually, you should keep other people's penises out of your wife's mouth. Just a joke.
I mean, that would have...
Oh my God.
Just a joke.
No, Ghazi.
No, but this is what I'm saying. Okay, I'm not saying it has to be that joke, but
I mean, in theory, you could.
Yeah.
But all that's queuing up is for him to walk straight back up onto stage, start dishing out another fucking.
But there has to be a reason to say. You have to give a reason to say what you just did was not acceptable. This is why. This is how I see it. I needed a consequence to happen because Will Smith. Nothing happened.
Well,
to
Will
him.
Smith chose his own punishment, right? And then
nothing happened to him. There's not even a consequence.
He dropped off of the board of Oscar.
Whatever happened to him, even that, I don't even care. Like, who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, he shows his own.
He stood up, assaulted a man, sat back down, went back up, collected an award, and went home happy.
Well, in theory, Chris Rock could press charges.
Chris Rock didn't, which again, I think that's mature of him. But in that moment, I do believe, and this is why I'm saying this, because I was discussing with this with my friends, is I don't like that there was no form of defense against it, and now it's going to set a precedence for people to attack comedians, and they think it's okay to.
Or like the old like Dave Chappelle.
And a few weeks later, Dave Chappelle
and a few weeks later
is attacked on stage. Now, the consequences to that person attacking Dave Chappelle, great. He was dealt with accordingly.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was kicked in.
I don't know.
Jamie Foxx landed a few boots in his face. Yeah. And the guy went out. I mean, I'm not condoning what the guy. I'm not talking about actually. I mean, when you cross, what you're basically doing there is you are aggressively and potently crossing an individual's boundary into their space and attacking them, right? So the consequences of not maintaining boundaries, especially when it comes to physical you
boundary.
have to expect repercussions. You have to expect repercussions. What those repercussions are, I think that what the guy getting kicked in by Jamie Foxx and like I saw something like Dave Chappelle went, you can always rely on Jamie Foxx to ride in wearing his cowboy hat and deal with the situation. Like, fine, but point to be made here is that that was over the top. But then what happened with Will Smith not getting any kind of
Which one would you prefer to happen? Over the top or nothing at all?
Well, can we not find a happy medium?
We can, but
like give him a quick slap, chuck him in the back of a cop car. I mean, we could even do the same to Will Smith.
Well, but that's my point. So here's my question. This is a very interesting question. If Will Smith did suffer repercussions to what he did, would that person, I've forgotten his name, gone on stage and tackled Dave Chappelle?
We don't know.
There's
no way of telling that.
There's no way of knowing.
But what I will say is that the example that Will Smith set to many people, that if you don't like a joke, you go and smack someone in the face, is horrendous.
And you know how I feel about jokes with comedians. I really think they should be allowed to. This trying to silence people from like making jokes and stuff is, I really am against it. I
think there has to be transparency in the sense whereby, let's say, for example, if you go and sit down and if you go to a Jimmy Carr or a Frankie Boyle stand up, you know you're going to get some pretty close to the bone stuff. And there's other comedians, which like Jim Jeffries, I think, is another one. Quite frankly, you're going to have to sit there and you're going to obviously listen to stuff which is going to be controversial, and they're going to try and make a joke. Now, some of it goes beyond what I personally would like to hear, so I wouldn't go to their stand-up.
That's completely fine.
You know, that's not being said that I went to see the Book of Mormon a few years ago, and I was talking to the guy who was in the guy that basically goes, "Everyone get to your seats." Nice guy, charming guy, bit bossy.
I mean, it's his job
too. But he was saying that regularly he gets shouted at by people that leave at whatever part of the show who have paid, well, it depends what they pay. They pay for anything up to like 100 quid a ticket, 120 quid a ticket. But ultimately, you know, the idea that people just get up and leave, it's like, well, didn't you read the frigging synopsis of what it was about? Didn't you get an understanding of what you were letting yourself in for? So I do think that comedians should have freedom of being able to express their creativity. Yes. But I also think that there needs to be transparency about what their jokes are going to be and their, you know, what their hard lines can be.
So you're saying, like, before someone books the show, this is what to expect.
So what happens before you watch a film?
I actually don't watch trailers.
Well, no, not a trailer. It comes up on the start of the film. It comes up with the rating.
And I see.
You can expect to see in this film threat, violence, blood, sexual,
Okay.
you know, and so on and so forth. So it kind of, you're like, right, well, if I don't want to see this, this is my window of opportunity to leave, right?
Which you probably wouldn't.
Fine. But at least there's full transparency.
Okay, fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Fine. I just think, listen, if you've got, people know comedians, you've probably seen their shows before, you could kind of tell what they like to joke about or how far they like to push their jokes. If you don't like them, just don't go to their show.
Just do your due diligence and find out.
Yeah.
You Google.
Just don't go.
What's Jimmy Carr's show? No, ultimately, so now you're in a position where if you say a joke that someone doesn't agree with or something, is that are you now potentially going to get attacked on stage while you're doing your show? I mean, there are some places that they'll never be able to get to the person, the entertainer or the comedian. They just wouldn't get on the O2. There's not a chance.
Yeah,
you'd have to climb over railings and past security guards, and there's a massive moat which has got water and a boat that goes around it.
Yeah, you're going to swim there.
You've got to swim. There's not. But the point I'm making is that in some places it's very difficult to do that. But that person should still not. They shouldn't feel intimidated by the fact it might happen. And I think that the overall example of what Will Smith set is a really negative one. And it is one that consequently could encourage people to jump on a stage, or could,
which has happened since,
or even if you scale it back to like the Comedy Store in London, which is like a really quite a small venue, and there's one, I can't remember what it's called. There's another one I've been to in northeast London as well, which you're sitting and the comedian is as close as you and I are, right? It's like potentially going to say something controversial, and that's where you probably need to tread a little bit more carefully, because you don't know your audience, the audience doesn't know you, so you do have to read the room. And I've been in some situations where black jokes have been made, which is hasn't worked well.
It didn't translate very well.
It didn't translate, and it was like, and then there was persistence in it, and it's like, no, and in that situation, that person could well have opened them up for being attacked, or by someone from the audience. And can you do that? No, you can't do that. But it's a very evolving situation with regards to what can be said and in what domains things can be said, and also, ultimately there is no, violence or a verbally attacking or violent response to something is not going to solve the issue. It's just going to create more problems.
In that example of Will Smith and Chris Rock. So that was my point in general, is just, one, I don't think the joke actually mattered to Will. I don't think he cared. He was fighting something else deep down, and it just happened to be the moment where he broke.
Yeah.
Which means he should really think about trying to, and if that is true, he should really think about trying to, I don't know, try to deal with the inner emotions that are making him feel this way. I don't know how.
Well, I mean, ultimately, you got to look at yourself and go, is he really in a relationship which has the dynamics that he's happy with? Is he really in a relationship whereby he is fulfilled, where he feels valued, where he feels wanted, needed, adored? Is he part of a partnership? And he has a lot of, one of the things is like, he works on his own happiness and Jada works on her own happiness, and together they are happy, they are two happy people. But, fair enough. Then the question remains, as a onlooker, do you really buy that? Is that really authentic? But fine, he's happy, she's happy, they're happy together, but are they?
Yeah.
Because the types of journeys that relationships go through aren't always smooth sailing, and they're not, and they do have needs for renegotiation of boundaries, understanding about where someone is at whatever part of their life they're in, decisions that they're making, opportunities that they have, not to get entangled with your son's mate, but other kind of things that might kind of like come into offering. Do you want to go and do things, see places, whatever? And there is a need to renegotiate things within relationships, and sometimes they're not always going to be easy negotiations. My question is, and I'm interested to know what people think that are listening, is like, do they think that Jada and Will Smith have a deep, happy relationship, or do you feel like it's superficially for the Hollywood onlookers a happy, picturesque relationship, when actually there is turmoil and angst within the ranks, so to speak? People aren't happy. I'm interested to know what people, because
do you think it's real or fake is basically the gist of it. Just for the record, I think Will Smith is a phenomenal actor. His position in Ali was it was spot on. Brilliant actor. I like the guy a lot.
I don't know the guy,
as in from
I like
as
his
an
films.
actor.
I think he's a good
as
actor.
an actor. I like him a lot. I just hope he's able to deal with whatever is going on, and hopefully can come out of it on the right side, because I'd love to see more of him in movies and stuff like that. And then the second point I wanted to make was, I think it's very important to set a boundary when something happens to you that you did not like. Chris Rock for sure did not like being slapped. We can pretty much assume that. I just felt like he didn't set a boundary to say you can't do that again. And I think that's important, because an example I would use is, let's say you're in the workplace and someone says, your boss asks you to do something that you don't actually need to do. You say, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Boss comes to you again. And then you start to realize, hold on, he's not asking anyone else to do this extra piece of work. It's just me. I wonder why. It's because you keep saying yes. You're not setting that boundary to say, well, actually, no, I'm a bit busy. You might have to ask someone else to do that.
It's like when a boss asks you to come in and do an extra shift because someone's called in sick and they don't want to pull that time themselves. So you do it once, and then you've kind of like, if you haven't clearly stated that what your boundaries and expectations are on an ongoing basis, it can become quite self-proclamating, that you eventually become the person that just does all the shifts that people are being covering for, or any extra work. And additionally, that then creates a real negative effect on your work-life balance or your enjoyment of the job or whatever. And all because you haven't set a particularly strong boundary, or you have been found to be in a submissive position with like a manager or who has basically called the shots. And there's obviously things that they can ask you to do within work, within life. Someone can ask you, can I do this? It's
your job to set the boundary.
But there has to be a level of boundary setting and being aware of what you're happy with as your own boundaries and what is acceptable for your own boundaries, and then communicating them effectively. Chris Rock in this situation has not turned around. I mean, the boundary's already set. You don't do that. You don't go up and slap someone. So there's no real need to say, well, you crossed my boundaries. Obviously, he's crossed the boundaries. Just that, what's the repercussion of crossing someone's boundary? That's the missing point, right?
Well said, Will.
Because there's no real. It's obvious that you don't go and hit someone, and thus, it's not. Chris Rock hasn't set a boundary. He hasn't said, well, what's the repercussion? I personally would have charged him and gone, you crossed a boundary. This is the repercussion that I'm giving you as a personal bit. Because he can't verbally attack him. He can't.
Well, he can, because he's a comedian.
Well, he
can
just
make it a joke.
He can, but you can't. There in the moment would not be the right time to verbally attack him. And ultimately, physical obviously is not an option. So, by law, he shouldn't have done that. He's crossed a boundary set and stipulated within law and order, right?
The highest boundary there is. Yeah,
apparently. But ultimately, in that sense, you would kind of like, if you're in a relationship and you set a boundary, then there's something, obviously not physical violence. That's an absolute category, you know what I'm saying. But if they're like, someone always ends up picking the kids up from school, and you're always the one doing it, or doing the dishes or whatever, and you just end up being that person, and you don't kind of like have conversations and reset those expectations and boundaries around what you feel comfortable. You will end up being in a situation where you are just not really doing the things you want on a regular basis.
Yeah, and that's why I was happy. Not that the guy got, pummeled in, the guy that tackled Dave Chappelle, but I was happy that there was repercussions to a boundary that was crossed. And I think that's very important. And I hope that these boundaries are not crossed again for future comedians.
You hope it's not a flood. You hope a floodgate's not been opened.
Yeah, I hope it's not something where it's like, oh yeah, look at me, I Will Smith did it. Oh, that guy tackled Dave Chappelle and nothing really happened to him.
Well, he ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, I know, but I just in case nothing did happen, let's say there wasn't any repercussions, and then someone else goes, okay, well, I'm going to attack whoever.
You'd just have a full-on stage invasion. You'd have loads of people.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah, when boundaries are crossed, it's very important, in my opinion. But you've got to have repercussions.
It has happened before. But like the music awards, where who was it that went on and
Kanye West to Taylor Swift. Yeah.
What bellend?
Yeah, it was awful, right?
And it was cringy as well.
Yeah, but
like super cringy. It's like, oh, don't do it, Kanye. No. Oh, Jesus.
Well, I think people have strong opinions on Kanye West now, anyway. So, with what's going on with him, and again, he's probably got some things that he needs to sort out.
Really? You don't say.
And I hope he does. I'm not trying to.
That could be a whole Pandora's box if you would have a sit down and a chat with Kanye West.
Exactly. So I think the point I did want to make initially was, if boundaries are crossed, there has to be repercussions
and renegotiation.
And renegotiations, of course. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to mention, Will?
No, just echoing what you say. I hope that Will Smith does recover from this and go on to make films. I do think he's a talented actor. I don't think you really know anyone truly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But on the surface, he seems like an okay kind of guy.
Okay.
Will Smith's okay. Preferred him when he was the Fresh Prince, not gonna lie.
His younger days. Where he had more energy.
But and obviously, I hope the guy that's been beaten up and is in hospital is okay, and he learns his lesson.
Yeah, and everyone else learns their lesson not to do that.
Lessons to be learned.
All right. Thank you, Will. Would you like to give them any Instagram, socials?
At Will Hawkins Coaching. You'll find me there.
And for me, Ghazi.92, and I do stream, just so you guys know, Janubi with 3 O's.
3 O's because 2 wasn't enough.
On Twitch. So follow me there if you are interested in watching me game.
Been a pleasure.
As always, and we'll see you guys next time.
On the big drill. Laters. Hi, I'm Will.
And I'm Ghazi.
And thanks for tuning in to The Big Drill. You can also find us on these platforms here. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find him on Insta.
Ghazi.92.
And me, Will Hawkins Coaching. The links are in the description. And until the next time we drill deep, goodbye.
Bye.